What is going on, everybody? This is the Colin Thompson Show. That is Jack Connell, and we are back and better than ever, recording a little later this week. For those that are keeping score, yes, I was in London. Yes, I ate my way through the great city of London, had an absolute freaking proper time, and had an absolute blast. If you get a chance to go to London, go over there. There's affordable flights. We flew on Norse Airways, which was awesome. And super affordable out of JFK in New York, and just had an absolute blast with friends over there, hanging out, traveling, seeing the culture, shopping. They say in London, like, there's not really any like food that's people say it's not great. We had the fish and chips, tremendous with a, big Guinness, pint of Guinness, a proper pint. That was awesome. But really, just going around and trying all the different cuisines that are from around the whole world is what they really do best there in London. Borough Market, we did a sambone from there. That was incredible. We were able to, go to see all the historic landmarks. It's just amazing how old, thousands of years old, some of these places that are standing just straight up and look healthy as ever. Just a really cool and unique. The public transportation there is tremendous. The tube, which is a subway, the overground train, which is just a normal train for us, was great. And then you really transfer over to going to the Tottenham Hotspur game. Thank you to Sam at, NFL UK for hooking us up. We had an unbelievable experience at the Tottenham Hotspur game. I'm a big Spurs fan. No surprise there for people listening to this show and have gotten into them and gotten the Premier League. And I really challenge everybody to get in the Premier League if you have not already. If a football and ice hockey guy can get into it, you can too. Absolutely loved it. It led us over there to just an amazing trip. And just had a blast at the Spurs game. I mean, what an experience, what environment, how much fun it really was, and the crowd and the chants and the players, how they respond, and just the culture of how European football is, primarily football over in England. Like, you can't bring your drink or any food to your seat. You're not allowed. You got to go out, sit in your seat, watch, and if you want to grab a beer or get some food, you got to go back up and eat it. You can't stand in the near the bar in the hallway and watch the game. They pull the blinds down. You can't watch the game. So when you watch a soccer match or go to the pitch, as they call it, you're watching with intent, and there's not a lot going on, and it's very coordinated. It's quiet, or it's very coordinated with chants and cheers, and the players really feed off of it. It's really cool to see. Unbelievable talent up close in person. Just an amazing event. I was blown away. I really was. I have nothing but positive things to say about going to a game. If you have any chance to go to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, especially for an NFL game, I hear they're amazing. Met Bradley in the suite. We were in the NFL suite for the game. That was something like I never couldn't even imagine. We opened the doors and there was a Lombardi Trophy sitting there with the Johnny Unitas quote on the wall when we were in London. Like, it was crazy. They had a football from every NFL team up on the wall. It was really, really cool and first class, and just absolutely blown away by the experience there at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and all the people that made it happen. Anthony Wooten on his show before in London, that was tremendous. So I'm kind of rambling on, but if you got a chance to go over there and go to a Premier League soccer game next year, I want to go back and go to 3 or 4 in a couple day span, because it was that electric and so much fun. So I'm excited, as you can tell. What'd you do this weekend, Jack? What'd you get into, buddy?
No, I don't think I did a single thing. I'm trying to remember what this past weekend it was. No, I didn't do a single thing. Per usual.
Would you go get some mild wings somewhere, Jack?
No, what did I didn't do a single thing. I think I stayed at home and I worked.
There you go. Not
there was no expenditures created from.
I'm over in London crushing pints and I just F-bomb. I can't believe I just did that. I'm crushing pints and
Bloody.
No Bloody Marys. No.
I thought you were trying to find a substitute there.
No. Crushing pints and maybe some fish and chips, Jack, or
what did I say? What did I text you? Tea and crumpets.
Tea and crimpets.
Crimpets.
But there's so many bars of the week, Jack, that are coming. We went to this bar called the American. Oh my God, it was the coolest thing in the world. It was a high-end bar, like high-end, right? But every wall was covered by American sports memorabilia. The ceilings had hats falling from it. Like it was just never seen anything like it in my life. Like this is like a 5-star, like hoity-toity. Jack Connell's not sitting there asking for boneless wings. It's awesome. So we had a blast. You know, I'm not going to sit here and go talking crazy about it the whole time, but it was really cool. So lots to talk about, Jack. I mean, there's a lot going on in the football world. But before we do, we got to talk about our friends over the original Fudge Kitchen, fudgekitchens.com, shipping fudge and sweet treats across the country. You guys know the drill. You know the drill. The best, uh, the best, um, you know, fudge in the world, the best treats they're shipping across the country. And you can't beat it because it's better than freaking normal gift or some corny card or flowers or whatever. Fudge, chocolate. Everyone loves chocolate. Everyone loves fudge. So check them out, fudgekitchens.com, shipping fudge and sweet treats across the country. A lot of free agents, Jack. I mean, chaos per usual in the NFL. It's March. We should be talking about March Madness, but it's like, wait, the tournament's coming? Like, I get it. The tournament's coming. I get that. I'm excited for it, but I don't know. It doesn't have the same allure to me. Filling out brackets tonight, maybe it will. But at the end of the day, I'm jacked up as all get out for what this. I mean, it was already great in free agency. It's still not done yet. There's still going to be trades. The next month before the draft here is going to be chaos. Is there anybody that sticks out to you, Jackie, in this free agency process that you're like, you know what, that was a great move, and it'd be a big name or two, or a departure? That was a big departure from a team. The Eagles have lost a lot of players. I still think they're going to be okay. People are freaking out. They draft well. They do well in free agency. They'll have more cap space, and also they have a ton of draft capital.
Yeah, I think two teams really stick out to me in this whole process. One's losing, but where the players went, and then one is actually part of that with the acquisitions. Chicago Bears. They have been Ryan Poles has been killing it in free agency. I mean, the two names that stick out to me, and everybody knows the big moves they've made. TJ Edwards, I feel like 3 years, $18 million, which I think, or it's like $21 million somewhere around that, is a steal for TJ Edwards. He has been killing it in Philly. That is a bargain of a contract. He's going to be a stellar, dare I say, Pro Bowl caliber linebacker for Chicago when they desperately need some help in the front seven. The next big guy in Chicago, and the other, Nate Davis. Guard Nate Davis, 3 years, $30 million, helps shape up their offensive line when they really need it. I don't know who their running back's going to be. They lost Montgomery to Detroit. They got Fields, who's going to be spectacular. They could target Bijan Robinson at 9. I don't think he'll fall that far, but that would be absolutely stellar if they could land him, or if they somehow trade back in and get Gibbs towards the end of the first.
Miles Sanders,
that's possible. But I don't know where they're trying to divert their assets to, but Miles Sanders would be killer in that backfield.
they're going to get a good running back, I would assume, though, Jack, because these guys are going to sign 1-year deals again. Like, yeah. It's not going to be like last year with the 1-year deal because of the cap and COVID and all that. There's going to be more. You've seen more extensions, more long-term deals. I'm going to get into them in a second here. But, I mean, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second, but there's a lot of 1-year deal backs that are going to be available that are really good plug-and-play guys. And I get it with running backs. Like, I feel bad for that position. I do, because there's so many guys that are good. Credit to them. But there's a lot of guys that are 1-year deal guys and draft picks. You could see it with the Eagles, right? Like linebacker, running back. Like, what do they value in that position?
Yeah. I mean, Rashad Penny, who's on Philly, who statistically, I mean, all of his stats show he's incredible. I think it's like, if he has a clear pathway, if he's not hit in the backfield, he averages 9.6 yards per carry. If he does get hit in the backfield, it's like still like 4.5 yards per carry. It's something insane. And he only got like $2 million from Philly.
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy, man. I feel bad for these guys. I do, because they're like legit players, and if you put them on an equal playing field with another player, just player X and Y, they should be paid more. Feel bad for them. That's position.
And the last big guy I kind of wanted to get to was another guy departing Philly, Marcus Epps, going to Las Vegas, the Raiders, only for like $6 million a year or something like that. Another guy who made a massive leap this past season, tremendous, easily a high quality starting safety. Philly let him go. They let go Darius Lakes. They need the cap space. They brought back James Bradbury. They're trying to bring back Gardner Johnson. Reed Blankenship looked good. They have Avonte Maddox locked in. They are reportedly heavily targeting a cornerback at 10, particularly Witherspoon out of Illinois. That is what the GM poll from the Combine said, that they think Philly's going to try to target Witherspoon at 10. So their secondary's locked up, so they had to let him go with their cap need to be pushed elsewhere with Jalen Hurts and stuff. But Epps in Vegas.
Slay getting cut. Pro Bowler, captain, leader. Thoughts?
I think it's not very shocking. I mean, he is tremendous. He's going to get a well-deserved bag, but Darius Slay is 32 years old. Eagles want to get younger in the secondary and get guys locked up. Slay wanted a 3-year contract that was guaranteed. I know guaranteed was the word that I heard from, I think it was Derek Gunn. I don't know if it's fully guaranteed or just at least half guaranteed, but they need the cap space. And Gilmore, who's probably another great cornerback, maybe a step below Slay, got a 5th rounder from Dallas. Jalen Ramsey only got a 3rd rounder. So Philly's probably thinking, would we rather bring back Gardner Johnson and have that money and get 18 million, or trade Slay and only get $4 million and a 4th round pick? So obviously he was worth teams to pay that and rework his contract, but Philly just let him walk. But I think that it's one of the bright spots. Obviously, free agency, there's a lot of I'm trying to disdain when a team cuts you, moves on, but it seems like it was very amicable between both sides.
Big stuff out of Jack Connell. Big stuff again from our friends over at Shots and Giggles in Key West, Florida. The best bar in Key West, the locals bar, the NFL bar. Jack, they had a party on Sunday for all their NFL fans because everyone misses the NFL. So they had a party. They had the food. They had the tailgate going. They literally had a tailgate party at Shots and Giggles in March for the NFL because everyone misses the NFL. Really cool stuff again. Shots and Giggles, the best bartenders, the best owners. The place is super clean bathrooms, good times, right off Duval Street. Down there for spring break. Check them out. Tell them we sent you. Shots and Giggles right off Duval. Right next to Scars and Tattoos. Tattoos and Scars. I always screw that up. And right behind Soppy Joe's. Love it. Absolutely love it there. And our friends over at Shots and Giggles Key West. Check them out on social media. Okay. For me, I have a list here. This is not a normal list. This isn't like what I thought was best or what I thought was worst. Or this is just some things that stood out to me of all really good signings of different people, different trades, re-signing. Just like I was scrolling through today, I'm like, all right, what do these names jump out to me? Of course, the big signings and the big trades, of course, they're big, but I'm not bringing that to your table. I think you can go to ESPN for that. I don't enjoy that. So here's some guys that I've either played against this year. I know, I've seen, I know their value really well. Not like, hey, Michael Thomas back to New Orleans is a big deal. Of course it is. Michael Thomas is a legendary receiver in the Saints and in the NFL. But I'm not going to give that. I'll give you the different things. So Dre Jones to Seattle. This guy, Dre Jones, when he was in Denver last year, he was the premier defensive lineman, defensive edge rusher that he could play all over that we saw last year, and Seattle got him. Really impressed with that. Mike Burton to the Broncos, fullback, right? Again, Mike Burton's a friend of mine. I get all that. Malco sports guy like myself. But he did a ton with Sean Payton with the Saints as a fullback for them. So I could see him bringing him into Denver. And I also like Andrew Beck going to Houston. He was their kind of fullback, H-back tight end there. He's a really good player in Denver. Made a big catch, one-handed catch, I think last year, week 1 versus Seattle. He's a good player. He's going to Houston. Love what Houston did with that. Mike McGlinchey to the Broncos. Obviously, Mike, friend of the show, grew up playing against Mike. I'm so freaking happy for Mike. This is a guy who worked his ass off, did things the right way. Notre Dame, first-round pick, played in the Super Bowl with the Niners, played in NFC Championship games, and gets paid, gets the bag. Good for him. Chris Manhertz. I think other than maybe Kittle and maybe one other person in the league, Chris Manhertz is the best blocking tight end. He went to the Broncos. So you had a fullback, you had a right tackle, you had a tight end that can really do it pass block and run blocking wise and athletic enough to get open and catch the ball in the run game as well. So I love Manhertz to the Broncos. I think that makes a big impact right away. They already have a good tight end room. Taki getting extended in Cleveland. Okay, what is he? He's like the second backer. He's the special teams guy. He's a really good football player and someone you circle when who's going to bring pressure as a linebacker in the pass game and then on special teams to make big plays. Waller to the Giants. I mean, I get it. That's a big one, but that guy's a stud. And now he's going to the Giants. They signed Daniel Jones. Really interested to see what he's going to do there. Marcus Davenport to Minneapolis to play for the Vikings. This guy is an absolute beast and one of the biggest players and strongest, most physical players in the league, in my opinion. He was with New Orleans, and it was really good for them on the defensive line. They have big boys down there, and Marcus is a really good player. Minnesota's going to love having him. Our boy, friend of the show, Bradley Bozeman to Carolina. Listen, when he came in, when Pat got hurt, he played great. And Bose is a stud. Pat Elfine's a stud. Bose is a stud as well. Bose deserves all the money in the world to play center in the NFL. He's a really good player, physical, strong. Him and his family are amazing in the community. So happy for him. Good on Carolina for bringing Big Bozy back because he's a freaking stud. And I'm just a huge fan of his game and a huge fan of him as a person. Someone else I'm a huge fan of their game and who they are as a person is Sam Darnold going to the Niners. What a perfect match with some injuries and some young players at the quarterback position there. Sammy D is going to do great for the Niners. First off, he's smart. He can play perfect in that system. He's mobile. He has a big arm. I think Sam is a star in the making, in the waiting. He already has all the gifts, the ability to do it. Just for whatever reason, whether it's his fault, whether it's team's fault, whether it's this, that, the other thing, it just hasn't worked. But I think things will work out well from the Niners for Sam. Alex Anzalone going to Detroit. Played at Florida with Alex, recruited him to Florida. He's a Wyoming, Pennsylvania guy. Great dude, great family. And him signing an extension to play in Detroit after playing last year on a 1-year contract there. Played in New Orleans for a while as well, but signed a 3-year extension in Detroit. So happy for him. Josh Oliver going to Minnesota. Everyone's like, who? Josh Oliver is the second, third, fourth tight end in Baltimore. They draft tight ends really well. Josh is a freaking stud, physical as hell, and will do really well playing for Brian Angelico, the tight end coach from Minnesota. He'll be big in the run game there and complement what Hockenson does in the pass game. So I'm really excited to see what he can do there. McGovern to Buffalo, Penn State guy, was with Dallas. Big, strong, physical. I think Buffalo is going to try to run the ball a little bit more this year. That's no real secret or hot take. He's going to help do that. They already have a really good offensive line. I think one of the best in the league. Add him in. That's a bonus. I talked about Beck going to Houston, and then Roy Robert Harris, who I play with in Chicago, and he signed a big ticket to Jacksonville a couple years ago, and he's a freaking stud. Interior pass rusher, but can play on the edge a little bit too. He's a monster. He's doing it pre-sign in Jacksonville. So I just scrolled through my phone today on Pro Football Chase, which is a great follow, by the way, and I just went through different things that I thought would be, here's the guys I know, played against, different things, and on the normal, like, of course, Derek Carr's a great player in New Orleans. Like, that's a great move from New Orleans. So just a few things that come to mind and just a couple tidbits from me. So going to a game this year, guys, check out SeatGeek, promo code Colin Thompson, COLIN, check them out. SeatGeek, your place to find tickets to a game. Promo code Colin Thompson. Som Sleep, trying to sleep, get up and kick ass the next day. Promo code Colin, COLIN, Som Sleep, the best sleep product in the world, and actionsoverfriendsapparel.com, the place to buy all the swag from Cape May, local small business, supporting business when you buy their clothing. All right, Jackie, what do you think about that list? I went through it, ripped it.
I feel like you might have touched on every single player in the NFL, free agents and not. Surprised that I didn't hear you go into like former player.
There's so much there. I get it, but they're all different. Some are like huge names, some aren't. I think that's good to hit on. I wanted to kind of open it up for our guests a little bit, Jack. Take them in my mind.
I mean, listen, I think this is a good time for me to ask you about a question that has been going around. See your insight on it. You might have a better chance than those that are asking this. There is a question going around TikTok and Twitter. Could you throw 10 yards in an NFL game, no screens or shovel passes allowed? Obviously, I said no. I attached the highlight of Blaine Gabbert throwing it directly into the hands of Darius Leonard right in front of his face. It was like a Pop Warner pass. That is exactly what I would do if I was not crushed before I got the ball out.
You're curious. Saying, can you sit in the pocket and complete a pass?
Like you're under center, like it's just a regular snap. Can you drop it like a whole NFL game? Could you throw 10 yards in a whole NFL game if you were the starting quarterback?
And complete a pass?
Throw 10 yards total.
Yeah.
Now, obviously you can, but it's thrown out to the average Joes of the world. Not everybody replying or seeing this tweet.
I think people would shit down their leg. I think somebody would shit down their leg. They would have. That's why I love it. That's why I love this. And on a side note, and this is a complete side note, and I'm glad DeMar's doing better. But when DeMar got hurt, it woke people up. Like, yo, this is football now. Remember this. This is not, pickleball out back. Like, no money. Take your Monday morning quarterback and your coffee on the way to work, which is awesome. But like, it's it's real. You could die. You can get hurt. So I know an extreme there, but that's the first thing that popped in my head. I thought it was really good for fantasy football. money quarterbacks because, like, yo, people get hurt. People get carted off the field. It's scary shit. Yeah, Jack, I think you could.
No shot. There's no shot I could.
Jack, you just catch the snap, put your foot in the ground, and throw it 10 yards?
No. You have to complete 10. I could
Oh,
throw
that's
it
what I
10
say.
yards.
Complete a pass.
You have to complete pass you
No
have to
way.
complete total of 10 yards in an
No
NFL
way.
game.
I would say 99% of the people on earth could not.
Exactly. And that luckily Twitter is so self-aware that every response is exactly what I said. Absolutely not.
Okay, sorry. I think
the biggest thing that was thrown out there was KJ Hilton. I think that's his name. The Denver Broncos. I think he was a wide receiver who had to step in the COVID year as a backup emergency quarterback because he played quarterback in college. Only threw for 13 yards over the course of a whole game.
Yeah. No.
And he was incredibly talented enough to play quarterback at Division I level in college, and he still couldn't do that well. I think that's a telltale sign that none of us would do well. What about, so do you think you had any shot to throw complete 10 yards in an NFL game?
I could. It'd take me a lot of reps, take me a full game, but I could.
Okay.
I'm not saying I could right away.
What's your go-to route? Are you hitting a slant over the middle? You airing out and fade?
Hard.
Or
I'm
are you just praying like you got somebody like a Tyreek Hill on the left side and you're just throwing up like you beat his man?
I'm throwing an out route, something breaking out, man to man, running to the sideline. I'm putting it out there and then I'm running underneath of it. Yeah.
I'd be like Russ, or whoever the stereotypical short quarterback that has to roll out because they can't see over the middle, except I physically would not be able to see over the middle.
Yeah. The problem is throwing it on the move is really hard too. So speaking of somebody who wants to throw the ball on the move, this guy thinks he can throw, catch, do everything. The Panthers have put a tender offer out, a 1-year deal worth $2.627 million. And if another team signed him to an offer sheet, they'd have the opportunity to match. This is from Panthers.com. Sam Franklin. I'm so happy for this guy and so proud of him. I love him. Always have. Sam took a visit to Temple University. And I remember Coach Rule saying, hey, listen, you can't go. We have Sam Franklin coming into town. And you got to take this guy out. He's a really good player. He's never seen snow before, though. We had 2 feet of snow. It was the most snow I've ever seen in my entire life. The city of Philly was like underground. I mean, the cars were under snow, like nothing I've ever seen. So I'm like, okay, Coach, I'll stay. And took him out. He barely spoke, barely talked, nothing. But he ate his food and just looked around and took it all in and had a blast. And, whatever that was, 2015, whatever, 14, say 9 years later, 8-9 years later, here we are. And he's getting up for Pro Bowl votes. And he played a million different defensive positions at Temple. And he's getting a tendered offer sheet by the Panthers. And he's one of the best, if not the best, special teams player in the entire NFL. So congrats to you, Sam. I wanted to bring this up on the show today because you freaking deserve it. You're a great guy. You worked your ass off and you did it the right way. So props to you, man. The guy's a stud and play forever. And this is different too, because everyone else, like fantasy football people, is like, he has no catches or interceptions and he's a safety. It's like, dude, the guy is a playmaker. Watch kickoff. The guy's a freaking animal. Watch punt. He's the best gunner in the NFL, in my opinion. And I'll speak for Johnny Hecker. Johnny Hecker's opinion. Guy's had a lot of gunners play for him. Said he's one of the best, if not the best, special teams player he's ever had. That's a big compliment. So John's like borderline Hall of Fame punter. So yeah, you get your flowers, Sam. You deserve it. You should get a big contract next year. I hope you do. A couple other things I want to touch on. We're going to go bar of the week, Jack. We're actually going to wrap this puppy up. The bar of the week this week brought to you by the Original Fudge Kitchen, shipping fudge and sweet treats across the country, fudgekitchens.com, is the Bricklayers in Tottenham, London. The pub we went to before the game. This place was tremendous. First off, you get off the train. You think it's going to be like Bedlam for these games, right? You see the chanting on and stuff. It was quiet. And you're driving through like a little neighborhood. It would be like a little neighborhood in South Philly somewhere. And in the middle of the neighborhood is this gargantuan stadium. Gargantuan. Massive. And there's like 1 or 2 pubs. There's not a lot. It's not like America where it's like pub, restaurant, bars, apparel stores, all this stuff. It's very Londonish where it's like, here's our one pub. There it is. Go into the game. It was unbelievable. Bricklayers, tremendous. Great vibe, good times. We were out back, hanging out. There's a little kind of patio, there's a little bar inside, a couple TVs, couple Tottenham Hotspur jerseys. Underneath the outside bar, though, they had all of the scarves from like the Hotspurs fan groups all over the world. So cool. We have one. I created one in Annapolis, Maryland, and Key West, Florida. We're going to get our scarves made. So the Bricklayers is awesome. The TVs, 4 out of 5. People are chanting and screaming at the TVs, hoping that Liverpool would looting. It was great. The cheers throughout it were incredible. I can't even say them. I would get kicked off the air, but it was fantastic and so enjoyable. TVs, 4 out of 5. The beers, 4 out of 5. The White Hart Lane brew that they only brew there and maybe somewhere else was awesome lager. The food and ambiance, they had someone in the corner like making like smash burgers. That was like the only food in the place that I saw, and it looked great. I wish I would have got a burger. I regret that. But the ambiance, of course, 5 out of 5. The service was great. The bartenders are awesome. So 18 out of 20 for the Bricklayers in Tottenham, London, UK. Place was just awesome. In England, excuse me. It was awesome. Had a great time. Had a great time at the game. Go to a Premier League game. Nick Brown's joining us today. Chef Nick Brown, Nicky Pumpkin, Biscuits of Tea with Nicky P. There's a million things you could say. The guy's the freaking best. Gives a full update on the Premier League. A great friend, a great person. Was able to grab dinner with him last night when we had to wait for our flight to connect to get back home to Maryland today. So we did this interview last week, first week of March. We're in the second week of March now. Just a great dude and a great time. And if you like the Premier League, he's going to give you every reason why to get into it if you're not into it. So anything from you, Jack, before we wrap up, bud?
No, I feel like we kind of hit on everything to do with NFL free agency. It's pretty much been the only interesting thing going on this past week for me. I'm not a big college basketball person.
You did fill out a bracket?
I did fill out a bracket, but I know nothing.
And you may win then. You may win the bracket.
It's always like some 43-year-old mom from like Minnesota who doesn't know anything about college basketball that always wins the ESPN tournaments.
We'll see what happens in the next episode with Jack in the back and Colin Thompson. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you guys enjoy Chef Nick Brown. All right. The great Chef Nick Brown, Nick Pumpkin to some, but our insider to Premier League soccer. How you doing, buddy?
Very well. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing great, man. It's great to have you back. You're a legend around here. A little disappointed. You left the chef's hat at your parents' house. I think our viewers will feel the same way. But next time, it's mandatory for you to join this high-paying show to have your chef hat on.
That's my number one ingredient when I go to dinners. You got to have the chef hat on. It sets the tone. Everyone loves to see it.
Do you really when you go and do private catering?
I'll do the chef hat every once in a while, but I certainly have my uniform. It's like all black, chef jacket, wear black jeans, black boots, black apron. And you gotta look the part when you're going into people's homes and get them excited right away. It's going to be a good meal.
Talk about your business right now too, and you give your, plug what you're doing, how they can find you, and then, just talk about what you've been up to lately in your travels with food.
Yeah, man, super fortunate in my career and my life here. So you can check me out at chefnickbrown.com. I'm a personal and private chef in the New York City metro area. So I have personal clients here in New York City. I cook for families every single week. Been fortunate enough to cook for some movie studios, some actors recently. And then I also do private events. So I'm in the Hamptons a lot. I was even down in Philly. I was down in Malvern a couple of weeks ago. So I do catering, events, private dinners, customized menus. I love food and I love my clients and people. And I love working together with people to come up with a menu that they're excited about and create a really fun experience. Because I love restaurants. I go to restaurants all the time, big restaurant guy. So I want to create a different experience in your home that you can't get out in a restaurant. So yeah, reach out, but everything's going great and very fortunate.
You're a legend. Chef Nick Brown, we appreciate you coming on. But the guy has an expertise about European football, and that's why he's on today. Lots to talk about. But I think we could start with the title race in the top 4. Tottenham's in the 4th spot where they finished last year. Manchester United is in the 3rd spot. Man City's in the 2nd, and Arsenal's in the 1st. What are your thoughts on the title race?
So we're in the back half of the season. This is a weird season. There's a World Cup in the middle of the season. So these players have been playing a lot of soccer. But right now it's Arsenal. They're 5 points ahead. They're back. We talked about before the season. They're young. They're hungry. And they've been consistent. So, Man City's right behind them, and they're proven winners. And Man City, they're incredible. But what's so interesting is they brought in this guy, Erling Haaland, who has 27 goals. He's probably going to break the record for most goals in a Premier League season. And some people are questioning if they're worse with him because the style of play is just a little bit different. He's this very direct, powerful guy that wants the ball to his feet. So it's going to be, in my opinion, those two. Man United's in third. They're having a resurgence season. It's good for the league that Man United's good again. And Tottenham sitting in fourth. But I really think it's going to be between Arsenal and Man City. Pep Guardiola, he was the mentor of Mikel Arteta, the Arsenal coach. These guys know each other. They play similar styles. And Arsenal's shown that they're not going to back down. There's, I think, 16 matches to go. So a lot of things can happen here, but I think it's a two-horse race.
We're going to get into Chelsea here in a little bit, who Tottenham beat last weekend. And, this Tottenham team, I'm a Tottenham fan, and it's been a blast. We have the Key West Tottenham fan club. We have a Annapolis fan club. It's been fun, again, as like this football hockey guy, to put on the Tottenham jersey on a Saturday at Dante's in Key West. And people are coming up to you at the pool party and being like, "Go Spurs, go on Harry Kane. Where are you guys watching the game tomorrow?" Like going crazy. And it's been fun because it's like not everybody, like if you're wearing like an Eagles jersey or a Cowboys jersey or a Steelers jersey, like people all have opinions on that. But I would say maybe like, I don't even know the number, 5% of the people really know even what you're wearing. So it's been kind of fun as a fan, but this Tottenham team's been really interesting to me. It's been up and down, even though they're in the top four. Is that safe to say? They've just done okay in some of their cups in the Premier League. But I mean, everything's through Harry Kane. He's an absolute stud. He's just got a nose for the ball. He's constantly scoring. What's happened with Son this year has been kind of interesting. He, went from a golden boot guy to like, he comes off the bench now late in the games. And I love that spark because he's an all-world player coming off the bench. Can you talk about that a little bit, Nick? Because I don't get it. I know he's played a lot of soccer. I know now even them going, playing in the Champions League, there's more soccer, plus the World Cup. And he's like the blue blood for his country too. So it's like, how do you see that playing out for him? I personally see him growing back into that role because he was so dynamic. But there's a lot of people at Tottenham with a loaded lineup preparing themselves for the Champions League.
No, I think it's a good point. And I love your point before as well. I think that soccer viewership in America is rising, but it's still niche enough that if you find someone else wearing your jersey, you instantly start talking to them. I'm an Eagles fan. If I go to an Eagles bar, I might get into a few conversations, but I'm not talking to strangers in the same way I am at a soccer bar. Even if I see someone in an opposing jersey, it's just fun. You can tell they're a soccer fan. They know that you're both there to watch the sport. So it's fun. Go out to a bar and watch some soccer. But yeah, Spurs are in that top four race. So, I think a Brit would know way more about this, but I think there's a culture within Spurs. It's kind of up and down. They call it being Spursy, where you go beat Man City, but then the next game you lose to Leicester 4-1, and the top sides just don't do that stuff. It's crazy. They can beat anyone on any given day. I don't know. Conte, the Italian manager of the Spurs, these Italian managers view themselves as these like artists, where they put their players with these, certain formations. And I think he might be overthinking. He thinks he wants to bring Son off the bench to be this killer super sub. And Son has clearly risen to the occasion. He clearly hates this. So when he gets on, he scores goals. And in his celebrations, he's showing that he's still one of the best players in the world. I think if you're one of the best players in the world, put him on the field. Like for 70, 80, 90 minutes. So I think the top four race is going to be tough because Liverpool had a really slow start of the season. They've been struggling, but they're on the rise. The guys are coming back from injury. So I think it's going to be Tottenham, Newcastle, and Liverpool. They're going to be fighting for that fourth spot. And for, fans are getting into it. The top four, you play in the Champions League, and that's where all the money is. That's where the worldwide viewership is. That's where these players want to be playing. These players want to play at Barcelona on a Tuesday night, for the whole world watching. You miss out. You're missing on money. You're missing on exposure, and your top players could start thinking about moving on to a team that's consistently going to be playing in the Champions League.
That's great points as always. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens at Tottenham. We're going to get into a little bit here. I'm going to the game in less than a week. Chelsea, you put it down in our pre-show notes. I mean, it's an historic organization that's, in the middle of the table and not in the best shape.
This Chelsea story is one of the biggest stories in recent football and soccer history. So basically, Roman Abramovich, a Russian oligarch, was forced to sell the team. after the Ukraine invasion, and an American bought the team. This guy, Todd Bowley, and he has just put money into it. They also went out and got the number one coaching prospect in English soccer, Graham Potter from Brighton. Everyone thought this guy was a whiz kid. You know, it was a can't miss. Every single club wanted him. So they got all this money and supposedly the best coach. They bought all the best players. They bought this kid Murdoch that everyone wanted from Ukraine. They bought Enzo Fernandez, fresh off his World Cup win, and they can't win a game. They can't score goals. It's unbelievable. They're winless in their last 5. They have the stat that everyone's been saying. They bought 31 players this year, and they've only scored 23 goals. They've bought more players, and they've scored goals over the season. They have no excuse. They have some of the best players in the world. They supposedly have one of the best managers in the world, and they just keep losing. So they're not going to be relegated or anything. They'll probably finish, mid of the table this year, but it's a question with all this money they've invested in Graham Potter, if they're even going to stick around and let him see what he can do with this squad.
It is extremely interesting. Again, watching Tottenham play them, it was 2 weeks ago. I could be wrong. Somewhere in that window. So Tottenham's second to last win. Tottenham, it looked like they just handled them the whole time. I mean, they didn't throttle them. I think it was 2-0 maybe, but it was like Tottenham looked like the Tottenham of old, or was like the Tottenham old, or is it really Chelsea that bad? I think I don't want to say Chelsea that bad. I mean, Tottenham, great. Again, we talked about how they can beat anybody, but it just is concerning. It seems weird.
It is concerning, and it's odd. Graham Potter, to be a top coach, the way he talks to the media, it's all about kind of like not getting fired. Like, talk about your plan, man. You have all the best players in the world. Talk about winning. Talk about scoring goals. A lot of his interviews are like, I would understand the pressure on me to be fired. And I'm like, why, have a positive message. And I almost feel like that's translating on the field, where these guys just don't believe that they can win right now. And it's this killer mindset. Liverpool had this for years. Man City's had it for years. Every game they're going to go out and dominate. It's just a mindset, and they did it. And I don't think Chelsea, with all the money in the world they've invested, they haven't come together to find out who they are as a team and how they're going to score goals. And it's pretty unbelievable to watch.
Culture precedes winning. It always does.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter what your logo is. Like Pittsburgh Steelers, that's a winning culture. Like Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season, no matter who's a quarterback, what they're playing. Doesn't matter. They have a winning season every single year. And in the NFL, that is extremely, I haven't been a part of any winning season in the NFL. I've been playing, this will be my 7th year. So it's hard. So I know we're trying to keep it on American football or English football. We'll go back to English football now. So we talked about.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say that this coach Ten Hag that came in at Man United, they say he's just obsessed with winning. It's the only thing he talks about every single day. He's a positive, winning-focused manager, and he's turned around a club that no one was able to turn around since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. I totally agree. It's coming in with a culture of winning, and the players respond to it. And I think it's also a bad look for Graham Potter that he leaves Brighton, and Brighton continues to win. Brighton's sitting 8th in the table. Chelsea's sitting 10th in the table. So it's kind of that, was it Brighton or was it Graham Potter situation? And right now it's just looking like Brighton had a good winning culture, and they're continuing without him.
And Potter's saying, right, like, hey, I left a great culture there, and that's why they're winning. And I came into a bad culture here, and that's why we're losing. That's the classic losers mentality of just coaching. We'll see. I don't listen enough, but it doesn't sound like he's real positive with the media. So
yeah,
I'm heading to London in less than a week, next Wednesday. Can't wait. First time going as an adult. It's going to be great. But I want to hear about your trip first before you could pass along some advice.
London was great, man. I went to visit my best buddy that's lived over there for years, so I got a little bit of an inside view. We decided to go to a Fulham game. So, he says that Fulham is a little bit easier to get tickets. It's not one of the biggest London clubs. There's like 8 clubs in London, and it was incredible. Craven Cottage, it still has these doors that I had to turn sideways in order to fit through the entrance door to get into the stadium. They have like 100 of these things lined up. This tiny little ticket reader as you go in. You can't drink beer in the stadium. So, the culture of going to the pub before is awesome. It's such a cool sports culture that, the clubs have these certain pubs that are near the stadiums. Everyone goes. It's this big family affair. real jovial atmosphere. Some people will be singing songs. Everyone walks to the stadium. They got a good buzz on. You get into the stadium, you quickly get a couple more beers because you can't take them into the stadium, or at least into the stands. And my buddy got his first row tickets in this old stadium. Like, there's still a house that's built into the stadium, and it was everything that I thought it would be. It was my first experience. I've been watching English soccer for most of my life, and it was incredible. These guys are unbelievable athletes. The pitches are stunningly perfect. They are just absolutely gorgeous. The stadiums are just constantly rocking. There's, singing the whole time, and it's just amazing energy there. So then halftime comes around, everyone sprints back inside to chug a few more beers, and then you get a little bite to eat, and then you're back out. It was, I loved every minute of it. I'm excited for you. Are you going to see a Spurs game?
So we're going to the Spurs Nottingham Forest game.
Ooh, nice.
So 2 Saturdays from now, the red Nottingham Forest with the lily white and blue of the Spurs. So it's going to be great. We're jacked up, but I need some advice. If you're going to a game and you're just telling someone, again, some American football guy, hockey guy, who just wants that experience in, the pubs and the food and the pregame and the postgame and during the game, I need some advice. But what could you give us?
So always trust the local. Find someone that lives around the stadium. Ask them the best pubs to go to before the game. As far as what to wear to the game, it's a different culture than American sports watching. It's not a big jersey wearing culture. I think do whatever you want to do, because you're an American. You're going to bring your American flair to watching soccer in England. But it's more of a casual affair where you don't realize that all these people are going to the game. They're just dressed like they would on a normal Saturday. But definitely go to the pub before the game. What I'll say is, after the match, it's amazing to see, just because our culture is so different, it's like the NFL over there. So every single pub you stop in is going to be playing the games. Every single pub is going to be soccer focused. And get some food. I think as far as food goes, especially come from a chef, it's all about expectations for me. Where, I thought German food was going to be terrible. I visited Germany and I really liked it. I never had German food. My expectations for English food were low, and they surpassed it. There's some really tasty stuff. The fish and chips are fun. They're delicious. A lot of Indian food is huge in the UK. It's, chicken tikka masala is their national dish. So I think England realized they didn't have the greatest food in the world, so they just imported it from all these places that they've interacted with over the last century. So Indian food, Turkish food, kebab, all that stuff was top notch over in the UK.
I can't wait. As Cindy, my wife, says,
you're gonna love it.
I just want to be in some pub, cheersing at the end of the day, singing songs, and we're taking the tube up in the morning. And a buddy of mine's going to a game that we're going to meet up there. He's like, you got to get there at 10 or 11 in the morning, get nuzzled up. Is it true there's home bars and then there's an away bar for the away fans?
I don't know of that, but that would make complete sense, because these fans, it's almost like the fans is just another aspect of the sport that we don't really have in American football, that the fans almost take their support of the teams as their own individual game, where the fans can almost be focused on each other more than the match. They're screaming at each other the entire time. They do a lot of work to keep these fans separated from each other. There's certainly home bars, and I'll ask my buddy about those away bars and I'll give you a tip, but that would make complete sense.
There is. And now I'll be at Tottenham, so it's going to be a home bar situation. So I'm just going to follow the white and the blue. I'll be okay. I'm going with the hoodie and the jeans, nothing crazy, much as I want to be wearing my jersey. But, long story short, I think there is. And then I know this for a fact. If you're buying tickets from the Hotspur website, it says home seating. And if you look at the games, there'll be a group of people wearing neon jackets. They're all just cops separating the fans, a row. They take up probably thousands of dollars in seating. They just stand up the whole time and watch the game. So I can't wait, man. Anything else you suggest?
So there's these established fan sections in each stadium. So Liverpool, it's the Cup. It's this iconic, and they're usually behind a goal. And there's the Stratford end for Man U. So these are the hardcore fans. These are people that this is, most of their life is taken up of supporting this club, coming up with new songs for every single player that comes through, organizing the pre-match, post-match, all the travel to away games. And it's fun for me sitting away from those and watching those fans, and because it's almost a show within itself. And then they always put the opposing fans all the way over on the other side of the stadium. So we talked about this last time, but UK is also huge on not price gouging, which can actually make it difficult to get these tickets. Because if you're a season ticket owner, you legally are not able to resell that ticket. They do. And we were a little bit worried because we had a season ticket owner's ticket in that first row. And oftentimes they'll make you show ID to make sure that you're the person that's supposed to be in that seat so they don't have this huge resale market. So a lot of the tickets, I think Spurs might be different. They're owned by an American. It looks like an NFL stadium. Yeah. I wonder if they do it a little bit differently where Fulham Stadium is like 20,000. My University of Delaware football stadium was as big as this Fulham Stadium. It's small. To see these athletes in these small stadiums is amazing.
I think that's going to be my one thing. I'm like, man, I want to see the Spurs Stadium. It's one of the best stadiums in the entire world. It's why the NFL plays there. Supposedly when the NFL plays there, the grass comes apart in pieces and they lift the turf up off the ground. So that's really cool.
Wow.
It stinks they don't allow Americans to play on the grass. The football team, I should say. But I next time I go back, I'm assuming I'm going to be like, all right, we're going to go watch Tottenham play on the road at Fulham or one of these places, these small atmospheres, because I love that. So we'll see what happens. Should be
It's
fun.
just so different. I love getting a sports experience that you really can't get here in the States. And it felt special. I want to go back and I want to go to Anfield. I want to go to, Spurs Stadium. I want to go to these big stadiums because supposedly it's such a home field advantage in this sport because every stadium is so different and they have such a unique culture in each place that it makes the home team feel just so comfortable, and it puts the away team, it just gives them something else to think about.
I love it. Anything else that your thoughts on this season before we wrap up?
It's a good season. It's going to be fun. The World Cup is tough. For these players, the World Cup is fun to watch. Did you watch World Cup?
I did not really. I watched a little bit.
You weren't into it.
I was just I'm just Premier League guy now, baby. No, I watched the World Cup like every other American. You pop it on, but like I really was watching to see what like Harry Kane was doing for England, and then what Sonny was doing for, I think he's Korean, right? So, so I'm diving in.
Such a Spurs fan.
I know.
I love it.
I'm diving in.
It's a good season for the Premier League. Man United is back. I think it's setting up, an Arsenal, Man United are going to be some of the best teams moving forward. And I think it's going to be awesome to see how this ends. Because of the World Cup, it's going to be rapid fire towards the end of the season. They have to get so many matches in such a short period. So if you want to start watching a lot of soccer, it's a good time to do it.
Yeah, we're jacked up, man. Again, I created these fan clubs. One in Key West. We had our first meeting a couple weeks ago at Shots and Giggles, and then one in Annapolis.
Official with Spurs?
We're official with Spurs. They sent us logos.
Yeah.
Every game, our Key West fan club, Annapolis fan club shows up on the thing on the jumbotron at halftime.
Amazing. This is the fun part about American soccer viewership. It's such a new world. It's the Wild West. Like, you can make a stake in the U.S. soccer world right now because there aren't a lot of fan clubs, and these English clubs want Americans to support them. They do these, and I'm sure you've seen these, they do these raffles all the time where you can win tickets. They'll fly you over, put you up in VIP because they want these Americans to be starting these clubs. So look around. They're everywhere. There's local bars. Every city is basically going to have a bar for every single Premier League team, and it's a blast. Like, go and meet new people, and it's 2 hours of drinking beers and chatting and watching a great sport.
That's another thing too. Like, there's a clock here, folks. This isn't like an end of a basketball game where there's 10 seconds left, but it could be like an hour because of fouls. Like, the clock's the clock. So it's I can't wait.
2 hours. That's it. And also I like to work hard in the morning, and I love these Premier League games start like 3 o'clock. So if you if it's a Thursday or even a Saturday, and you can start having a beer at 3 o'clock, I think that's a good start of the day.
And damn right it is. Clip that. That's worth all the money in the world. Chef Nick Brown, check him out. He gave us a shout out in the beginning to all his stuff. Again, thanks for coming on, brother.
Thanks, buddy.